Alone in one of the carts towards the front of the train, four young children sat before the disembodied hand of the dream demon Enmu. Enmu told them about his plan, each of them listening intently to his words. You all know what to do to eliminate the demon slayers, but none of you can tether yourselves to the ice Hashira. Don't you need her eliminated, though? One of the boys asked. Not that one. The master needs her for information. Another demon will be taking her to my master once she falls deep enough under my spell. We understand. We'll make sure they get eliminated so we can have our good dreams. Good. Remember to not touch the slayers. I'll be waiting. Yuki slowly opened her eyes, finding she had fallen asleep at her desk. She was confused on how she had fallen asleep, but recognized the book that was in front of her. She was reading one of her journals on the blue spider lily. She hadn't seen these books since she handed them to Master Ubiyashiki after she retrieved them from her home. Wait, how were they back here? She quickly stood up from her desk, going to her bookshelf to look for her books. All of them were in their respective spots. It felt odd seeing them all back on the shelf again, but something else caught her attention. She could smell food coming from the other side of her door. Yuki was confused why there was a smell of food and opened the door to her room, peeking out into the kitchen. Yuki, perfect timing. Your father and I were just about to come get you for dinner. Come over and sit with us. We'd love to chat with you and spend more time with you. Yuki stared in disbelief, seeing both of her parents alive and well. The last time she had seen them was when their corpses were on the ground. She ran over to them and hugged them, hot tears pouring down her face as she did so. Yuki, is everything all right? Her mother asked, her tone laced with worry. You guys are okay! I thought you were dead! She sobbed. Why would we be dead? We're safe here at the house. Her father reassured. I had a nightmare, Yuki admitted. I just woke up after falling asleep at my desk. I had a dream you both had gotten killed by a demon, so I was relieved to see you're okay. Oh, Yuki, I'm sorry to hear you had a nightmare. Come and sit with your father and I. We can talk about it over dinner. She nodded, sitting down with her parents. Her father brought her a plate of food, the plate containing her favorite meal. She took the plate, reaching with her left hand outstretched, quickly noticing that her markings were gone. Her eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't say anything. She thought everything was so odd. Her parents being alive, her markings being gone. She was trying to wrap her head around it when her father's voice caught her attention. Yuki, are you sure everything is all right? You seem really distracted. Yuki nodded at his question, but didn't say anything. She had started to eat her food, thinking to herself about everything, when she looked up at her father to ask, Where's Corey? Don't you remember? She went out on her mission yesterday afternoon. Are you sure you're feeling all right? You aren't running a fever, are you? Her mother worriedly asked, placing a hand on Yuki's forehead. Yuki chuckled, pulling her mother's arm away from her head. I'm all right, Mom. I guess falling asleep at my desk while reading gets my imagination running in many different directions. Maybe you should take a break from the studies for a while, her father stated, looking to her mother. I think we should tell her about the idea we pitched to Corey. I think so as well. It will make her very happy to know we were considering it. Her father nodded, turning his gaze back to Yuki, who wore a confused expression. Your mother and I know you didn't want to be the guardian, so we told Kori to ask Master Ubuyashiki if she could start training you to be a demon slayer. Yuki's eyes lit up with the mention of being a demon slayer. Wait, really? What about the rules? Well, I thought there could be an exception this once. You are passionate about helping the Demon Slayer Corps, so I don't see a problem if Master Ubuyashiki doesn't. Thank you, Mom. Even considering this makes me so happy. Yuki had a large smile on her face, continuing to talk with her parents for what seemed like hours. As they talked, the front door burst open. Yuki looked up, and her eyes filled with tears, seeing who it was. Are you guys all right? Kori shouted, trying to catch her breath. Yuki got up from her chair, running over and hugging Kori as tight as she could. Kori! I'm so glad you're okay. I was so worried that you wouldn't come back. Tears were pouring down her face as she buried it into Kori's haori. Hey, I'm okay, Yuki. I wasn't supposed to be back just yet, but I felt that something was wrong, so I rushed back to see if you all were all right. Kori was hugging Yuki just as tight, tears falling from her own eyes. She pulled Yuki's face back to look her in the eye, wiping the tears from her cheeks. I'm glad to see you're still safe. I'm glad you're safe too, Yuki said, wiping away Kori's tears. Their mother came up to the both of them, glad to see her daughters reunited, but the question burned in her mind. Did you ask the master about Yuki? Kori looked up at their mother, her face filled with embarrassment. Unfortunately not, since I didn't get the chance to debrief the mission with Master Ubuyashiki. I didn't get to ask him. Sorry, Mom. There's no need to apologize. We can always ask him another day. Yuki nodded in agreement. Yeah, you don't need to be sorry. You were worried about us. You know that family comes first, which is really what matters. Yuki hesitated on her words, looking past Kori to see someone standing in the doorway. Yuki stared at what looked to be a reflection of herself in her Demon Slayer uniform. She also had the demonic markings on her arms and face. Wake up! The figure shouted, before disappearing in a flurry of snow. Wait! Yuki shouted, pushing past her sister to run out the door. She looked for the figure outside, but it was gone. Yuki, what are you doing? Kori yelled, standing in the doorway of their home. This isn't real, Yuki muttered, looking at her hands, still not seeing the markings there. What are you talking about? Of course this is real. No, it's not! Yuki screamed, a large flurry of snow enveloping her. Once the snow cleared, she looked down to see herself back in her uniform, now with her markings and powers once more. She turned back to face her family, her features filled with determination, but also sadness. This is just a dream. A fantasy I wish could be true. Her mother looked at her worriedly. Yuki, this is reality. Please come back inside so we can spend more time together. This reality is fake, Mom. Both you and Father died in this house over a year ago, and Kori has been missing for the same amount of time. This is what I wish I could have, but I can't. Tears were pouring from her face, but she turned around to start walking away. Kori ran up to Yuki, grabbing her wrist to keep her from leaving. Yuki, stop! Come back with us. We can be together as a family. Yuki pulled her arm out of Kori's grasp, looking at her with tears in her eyes. No, we can't! I'm sorry, Kori. Yuki sprinted away, ignoring the cries and screams from her family. It broke her heart to leave them behind, but she knew this reality wasn't real. She ran deep into the forest, searching for any sign of the figure she had seen in the house. But there was still nothing to be found. "Damn it! How do we get out of this dream?" she shouted. She thought for a moment, but soon activated her powers to look for a weak spot. She looked for any sign of a demon in her dream, but watched the entire demon world glow red. The dream itself was the demon. She looked at her hands, seeing a yellow glow coming from them. She had never seen her own body glow while using her powers. She thought hard about what to do to escape, wondering what the glow around herself meant. As she looked down, the gleam from the hilt of her sword caught her attention. She pulled the sword out of its sheath, looking at the blade shining in the moonlight. As she stared at her reflection, she had the realization on what she needed to do. She was terrified that this is what she needed to do, hoping that it wouldn't harm her in the real world. She lifted the blade to her neck, her arms trembling. She took in a deep breath before slicing her sword across her neck, spraying blood across the dirt ground of the forest, watching her vision go black. Yuki's eyes shot open, gasping for air as she woke up from her dream. She had gotten out. She breathed a sigh of relief, trying to feel around the area she had cut her neck. As she attempted to move, she found her arms to be tied behind her back to a tree. Her eyes widened seeing that, wondering how she had got brought here. Her heart began to quickly beat as she struggled against the ropes. She turned her gaze up to look out over the horizon, but when she looked up, she saw a demon standing before her. Her heart sank when she read the demon's eyes. Upper 3. Glad to see you're finally awake, darling.